Okay, let's jump right in because honestly, the headline alone, it just stopped me in my tracks. We have to talk about this word, this name that, well, nobody expected to see linked with Toyota again. Scion.
Yeah, it's definitely sending ripples through the industry. Anyone who follows cars, you hear Scion and you immediately think, the Boxy XB, maybe the TC or the FRS for the enthusiasts.
Right, those cars.
But if that's where your head is at, cars, then you are completely missing the point of what Toyota's actually doing here. It's something else entirely.
Exactly. And that's the real shocker, isn't it? Not just the name coming back, but what it represents. This is a huge strategic shift. It is not a return of that, let's say, quirky youth brand we remember.
Not at all.
No. It's Toyota marching into a whole new battlefield. So our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We're going to unpack Toyota's really bold, unexpected move into the power sports world, specifically the side-by-side, the SXS market, using this resurrected Scion name for their new machine, the Scion 1 SXS.
And we're basing this discussion on a really excellent detailed feature from Motor Trend. They didn't just cover the specs, They dug into the tech, especially how it borrows from Toyota's trucks, and importantly, they look at the potential market disruption. What does this really mean strategically?
It's a great piece, definitely worth reading if you want the full picture. It really frames why this is such a big deal.
Okay, so before we get into the nuts and bolts of this new machine, we really need to address the ghost of Scion past, right?
Absolutely. We have to clear the air. For anyone listening who remembers Scion from its first run, roughly 2003 to 2016, remind us what that brand was all about, because it was a very specific experiment for Toyota back then.
Oh, totally. It was laser focused on younger buyers, people, often first-time buyers, who were just frankly put off by the usual car dealership's song and dance.
The haggling, yeah.
Exactly. So the original Scion's legacy, it really rested on a couple of key things that were pretty radical for the auto industry at the time. Number one was trying to kill price haggling. Remember pure price?
I do. Set price, no negotiation.
Yep. A set non-negotiable price, which was, a huge departure from how cars are normally sold, where everything's about markups and back and forth.
And that fixed price thing, it really enabled the second big pillar for Scion, didn't it? Customization.
Absolutely. They basically gave you a blank slate. The cars themselves were relatively simple, affordable, but then they offered this huge catalog, just tons of custom parts, dealer-installed accessories.
So you bought the basic car, and then you made it yours, right there at the dealership.
Precisely. You could tailor it to your look, maybe add a few performance bits, whatever you wanted. It was this whole ecosystem built around instant personalization, which, really clicked with that early 2000s youth culture wanting to stand out.
And, even though the brand itself eventually faded out sales-wise, it did leave a mark, especially for car enthusiasts.
Definitely. You can't talk Scion without mentioning the FRS. They absolutely helped bring back the affordable rear-wheel drive sports coupe. That car, co-developed with Subaru, was a pure driver's car. It proved Toyota still had that performance pulse.
Yeah, the FRS was legit.
But ultimately, despite moments like the FRS, that whole chapter, the youth focus, the pure price, the specific car models that's done, the brand officially died off in 2016.
Which is why this comeback is so, well, jarring. Okay, legacy check complete. Let's pivot to the new Scion. The Scion 1. This is where it gets really surprising. Because the Scion 1, it's not a car at all.
Not even remotely. It's not trying to be a cheap commuter or a first tuner car or anything like that.
So what is it?
The Scion 1 is a side-by-side, a UTV, but think high-performance, serious off-road recreation machine. This is Toyota making a very loud, very clear statement that they are entering the power sports market.
And as the Motor Trend piece points out, this is a segment Toyota has, and I think the quote was, heretofore untapped.
Exactly. They're taking their massive global presence, their engineering might, and planting a flag right in the middle of territory traditionally dominated by companies like Polaris, Can-Am, Textron.
Okay, but that begs the question. Why Scion? If the name kind of fizzled out in the car world, why bring it back for a tough off-road machine? Why not use, I don't know, a Tacoma sub-brand or something new?
That's a really good strategic question, and I think it tells us a lot about how Toyota views branding internally. The original Scion, it had its issues, but it also represented being different, trying new things. Crucially, it was separate from the main Toyota brand identity. The image of super reliable, maybe slightly conservative cars.
Right, gave them room to play.
Exactly. By using Scion for the SXS, they're signaling this is something different, it's niche, it's high performance, it's maybe a bit experimental, it's not your everyday Toyota Camry or RAV4.
So it frees them up. in a way.
I think so. It lets them be more aggressive, maybe focus more on that customization aspect again, perhaps even navigate the regulatory stuff differently than they would for a mass market car. It's a tactical choice, using a dormant brand that doesn't carry the baggage or the expectations of their core automotive lines.
Okay, let's get into the machine itself, because this is where Toyota's scale and engineering power really become obvious. They're not just dipping a toe in. They seem to be leveraging their core automotive tech.
Oh, absolutely. This isn't some small startup building from scratch. They're bringing the heavy artillery.
Huh?
Let's talk about the engine first, because that's the headline grabber.
Yeah, what's powering this thing?
The Scion 1 boasts a hybridized, get this, 300 horsepower turbocharged inline-4 engine.
300 horsepower. In an SXS, that's serious grunt.
It's massive power for this segment, especially when you think about how much lighter an SXS is compared to the truck this engine likely comes from.
And the credibility here comes from the source of that engine, right? It's not some unknown quantity.
Yeah. Exactly. It's directly based on the 2.4-liter iForce Max hybrid system.
Ah, okay. The iForce Max. People will know that from.
The latest generation Toyota Tacoma pickup truck. And the iForce Max isn't just a turbo engine. It's a pretty sophisticated hybrid setup. You've got the 2.4-liter turbo four-cylinder, but it's paired with an electric motor generator, usually integrated right into the transmission.
The system designed for truck stuff, towing, hauling, durability.
Precisely. Engineered for durability and really optimized for that low-end torque delivery thanks to the electric motor boost.
And that immediate torque. That's got to be huge in the off-road world, right? Compared to how traditional SXS power delivery works.
Oh, it's a fundamental shift. Think about most high-performance SXSs now. They often use high-revving engines, lots of noise, paired with a CVT, a continuously variable transmission.
Right, the belt-driven systems.
Yeah. And with the CVT, you often get that rubber band feel. You need to spool up the engine revs to get meaningful power, which means noise and maybe a bit of lag, especially when you're trying to crawl over rocks or get unstuck from mud. The iForce Max Hybrid flips that script. Thanks to the electric motor, you get massive torque instantly. Like right from 0 RPM, you touch the throttle and bam, peak torque is there.
Which is exactly what you need for, what? Rock crawling, mud.
Perfect for rock crawling, navigating really technical slow-speed sections, pulling yourself out of deep sand or mud, or even just accelerating hard out of a corner on a trail. It allows for much finer control at low speeds without revving the engine to the moon.
Okay, so that brings truck-level hybrid tech and control into this much lighter, presumably more agile package.
Yeah.
But the Motor Trend piece did raise a question mark, didn't it? About how much is really Tacoma.
Correct. That's the big unknown right now. How much of that iForce Max system is a direct bolt-in carryover? Is it the entire hybrid system, battery, inverter, complex cooling, or just the core engine and motor concept adapted for an SXS?
Because stuffing a truck hybrid system into an SXS chassis presents challenges, right? Weight, packaging, cooling.
Huge challenges. Packaging a large, heavy battery. Making sure you can cool a system designed for an enclosed engine bay when it's now much more exposed to dust, mud, water. Weight distribution becomes critical too. So while it's based on the Tacoma system, it's likely had significant re-engineering for this specific application.
Makes sense. It's not just copy-paste.
Probably not. But the borrowing definitely doesn't stop with the powertrain. The report makes it clear that other key bits are also derived from Toyota's trucks.
Like what?
We're talking driveline components, suspension architecture, maybe not the exact parts, but the design principles and mounting points and the brakes, all based on Tacoma production hardware.
Okay, now that has massive implications for durability, doesn't it? If you're using components designed for the abuse a pickup truck takes.
Exactly. The implication is, as Motor Trend puts it, the Scion 1 should be at least as capable off pavement as its pickups. That's a pretty bold statement about its built-in toughness.
It suggests a level of over-engineering maybe compared to some purpose-built SXSs?
Potentially. And that durability is where it really throws down the gauntlet to the current kings of the hill, like the Polaris, RZR, Pro R, or the Can-Am Maverick R. Those are amazing machines, very powerful, very agile.
Right, the Pro R is what, 225 horsepower?
Around there, yeah. Very light, very fast. But Toyota's coming in potentially with 300 horsepower, backed by components engineered for truck duty cycles. It might trade a tiny bit of ultimate nimbleness for significantly better component life and resistance to braking under extreme use.
So it's not just about the peak power number. It's about sustained, reliable power delivery in harsh conditions, the kind of thing you expect from Toyota trucks.
That seems to be the philosophy. And if the Scion 1 actually hits dealerships in volume, well, it completely reshuffles the competitive deck.
How so?
Because suddenly you have Toyota, this massive global automotive giant with an ironclad reputation for reliability playing directly in the powersports sandbox. They effectively become a major threat to the sort of Polaris Can-Am dominance.
And they're not the only automaker with a foot in both worlds, are they?
No, not at all. You've got Honda, obviously huge in powersports with their Talon and Pioneer SXS lines, plus motorcycles and ATVs. You have BMW, primarily with motorcycles, but certainly involved in high-performance tech. And interestingly, Volkswagen Group through their ownership of Ducati, which competes in high-performance segments.
So it's becoming less of a niche power sports fight and more of a battleground for these huge automotive OEMs.
It certainly looks that way. Toyota entering doesn't just add another competitor. It brings a different scale of R&D, manufacturing capability, and global logistics. It forces everyone else to potentially rethink how they build, price, and innovate.
Okay, the Tacoma connection, the 300 horsepower, that's a huge part of the story. But the feature that Toyota seems really keen to push, and frankly the one that has maybe the biggest non-performance implications, is this silent mode.
Yeah, silent mode. That's their marketing term for the pure electric-only drive capability.
Taking advantage of that hybrid system.
Exactly. It allows the Scion 1 to run just on battery power, completely shutting off the gasoline engine for certain periods or conditions.
So literally on the trail, what does that mean? No engine noise.
Pretty much. When it's in silent mode, the internal combustion engine is off. The only sounds you're really going to hear are maybe a faint electric whine from the motor and drivetrain, and the sound of the tires on the ground crunching gravel, splashing mud, whatever.
Which, for certain people, sounds like a massive advantage.
Oh, it's potentially a game changer for specific users. It's not just a gimmick. It opens up totally new ways to use a machine like this.
Who are we talking about? Hunters seem like the obvious first group.
Hunters, absolutely. The ability to move slowly, quietly, getting between locations without sending every deer in a square mile running for cover, that's huge.
Getting closer without spooking game.
Yep. But think beyond hunting, too. Wildlife photographers, nature researchers, anyone who needs to get close to sensitive wildlife without announcing their presence with a loud engine.
Right, carrying heavy gear quietly.
Imagine trying to photograph a bird's nest or observe elk. Having the payload of an SXS for your gear, but the stealth to not disturb the animals, that's incredibly valuable. It changes the interaction with nature from, potentially intrusive to much more observational.
It allows you to just enjoy the quiet of the outdoors more, even when you're using a machine.
Exactly. Without that constant drone or roar of an exhaust, I think that aspect alone might attract a different kind of buyer, someone who loves the outdoors but maybe wasn't thrilled about the noise associated with traditional SXSs.
And that brings us to the maybe less obvious but potentially more important implications. The social and regulatory side. Noise is a huge issue for off-roading access, isn't it?
It's massive. It's probably the single biggest driver behind trail closures and restrictions on public lands.
So talking about neighbors, regulatory bodies, this quiet operation could be a really big deal. If you live near trails, you might appreciate not hearing SXS ripping around constantly.
It's a huge win for community relations, potentially. Think about noise complaints from residents near trailheads or conflicts with other user groups like hikers or equestrians. Reducing the noise signature is critical.
And for land managers.
We've seen it time and again. National forests, BLM land, they impose strict decibel limits, sometimes leading to closures. Why? Noise complaints are a primary reason. If a vehicle like the Scion 1 can operate quietly, especially at lower speeds near sensitive areas or trailheads, it might actually help keep trails open.
So Toyota is almost offering a tech solution to a political problem.
In a way, yes. It's mitigation. It could help future-proof the activity against some of the regulatory pressures driven by noise pollution. That's a massive long-term benefit for everyone who enjoys power sports.
That's a really powerful point. It's more than just a feature. Okay, back to the mechanics though. What happens when that battery runs down? You're miles from anywhere, no plug.
Yeah, the hybrid system handles that just like in their cars. When the battery charge gets low or if you demand full power, the gasoline engine just seamlessly kicks back in.
And it doesn't just drive the wheels then?
No. Crucially, the engine also acts as a generator to recharge the battery while you're driving. Plus, you get regenerative braking going downhill, slowing down. That energy recapture helps top up the battery too.
So the range of silent mode isn't fixed. It depends on how you drive and the terrain.
Exactly. You might get more silent running if you have lots of downhills to regenerate power. But the key is You're never stranded with a dead battery like you might be in a pure EV in the backcountry. You always have the gas engine for range and power.
Best of both worlds, then. Stealth when needed, range when you don't.
That seems to be the goal, yeah.
Okay, shifting gears a bit from recreation to maybe more serious use, competition. The Scion one has a particular feature fitted right from the factory that screams racing intent.
Ah, yes, the FIA-compliant roll cage.
Right. For listeners maybe not deep into motorsports jargon, what does FIA compliant actually mean in terms of safety and structure?
The FIA, Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, they're the global governing body for most high-level motorsports. FIA compliance for a roll cage means it meets incredibly tough standards. We're talking specific steel grades, tubing thickness, complex joint designs, triangulation, all engineered to protect occupants during really severe high-speed rollovers.
The kind of crashes you might see in desert racing or rallying.
Exactly. Having a cage built to that standard from the factory strongly suggests Toyota is thinking about competing. Maybe score events like the Baja 1000, maybe even Dakar. Both have big, growing SXS classes.
That's a serious commitment. Building a vehicle tough enough for those kinds of events right off the showroom floor, that can't be cheap to do, can it? Building to FIA spec.
No, it's a significant cost adder. Most standard SXS cages are designed for general rollover protection, balancing safety with cost. An FIA cage requires much more material, more complex welding, more inspection. It's time-consuming and expensive to do on a mass production line.
So it signals they're targeting the high end, maybe the serious enthusiast or racer, right from the start.
That seems likely, yes. Someone who values that ultimate level of safety and structural integrity and is willing to pay for it.
Okay, but the Motor Trend piece did push back a bit on Toyota's marketing language here. Toyota apparently described features like silent mode and this FIA cage as groundbreaking, or a first. Let's fact check that a bit. Is silent mode really groundbreaking?
Well, groundbreaking might be a strong word in the absolute sense. Toyota's application using a sophisticated automotive-grade hybrid system like iForce Max and an SXS, that's pretty novel, especially for a major OEM entering the market.
But the idea of electric or hybrid power sports isn't totally new.
Right. Other companies have played in this space. Segway has launched hybrid ATVs. There are companies like Hunt VE making electric UTVs, often for utility purposes. Textron has had electric and hybrid models in the past too, sometimes for fleet use.
So Toyota isn't the first ever with a quiet mode?
Not the absolute first with the concept, no. But the difference is the level of technology. Those other systems are often simpler, maybe smaller batteries, less integration. Toyota is bringing a system designed for the rigors of a modern pickup truck. The potential durability, the power, the seamless integration. That's arguably the groundbreaking part for this specific market segment, coming from a player like Toyota.
Okay, that makes sense. Scale and quality of application, not just the raw idea. What about the FIA cage claim? First of its kind.
Similar situation there. It's partially true in that most mass-market SXSs do not come with a factory-installed cage built to FIA specs. It's just too expensive for the average recreational buyer.
But it's not like nobody else offers that level of safety.
Exactly. The aftermarket is full of companies that build bolt-in cages that are FIA certified. You can upgrade many existing SXSs to that level.
And isn't there a competitor that actually builds it in from the start?
Yes, the source specifically mentions Speed UTV. They're a smaller manufacturer, often built to order, but their whole focus is on extreme performance and racing. Their vehicles are designed with cages meeting FIA and score rules right from the initial design.
So again, Toyota isn't the absolute pioneer of the concept of a factory race-ready cage.
Correct. They're arguably the first major OEM aiming for potentially higher volume production to integrate it from the factory. Speed UTV got there first conceptually for their niche, but Toyota brings the possibility of making it slightly more mainstream, albeit still at the high end.
It's interesting, though, even when you challenge the marketing hype, the underlying product seems really impressive. Investing in that level of hybrid tech and that level of safety structure speaks volumes, whether they were technically first or not.
Absolutely. It signals serious intent. This isn't just testing the waters. It feels like a very deliberate, well-funded strategic move. Hashtag tag v market significance and final implications.
Okay, let's pull back and look at the big picture. We've talked tech, we've talked features, we've poked at the marketing claims. When you put it all together, why is this Scion 1 launch such a big deal? Why should people outside the hardcore SXS world even care?
Because it's genuinely a bold move for a company like Toyota. Think about it. a massive global automaker known primarily for cars and trucks people drive every day, deciding to jump into a relatively niche, specialized market like power sports.
Just confidence, right? Confidence they can translate their core tech.
Huge confidence. And it signals they're not treating it like a side project. This feels like a serious strategic diversification, backed by, as you said, their immense resources. Toyota isn't just a car company, they're a global manufacturing powerhouse.
With a massive dealer network, parts supply chain.
Everything. That scale is something the traditional power sports companies, even the big ones like Polaris and Can-Am, just can't match. If Toyota decides to really push the Scion 1, they could potentially compete very aggressively on durability, maybe long-term cost of ownership, parts availability.
Which leads to the threat assessment part. This has got to be making the established players nervous, right?
It absolutely should give traditional power sports manufacturers pause, as the article puts it. You've got Polaris and Can-Am, who've dominated the high-performance SXS scene for years, suddenly seeing Toyota roll onto their turf. And not just with any machine, but one packing advanced hybrid tech derived from their trucks.
It's not just another competitor, it's a competitor with a different rule book almost, a different engineering philosophy.
And specifically, that hybrid advantage is key. Toyota has decades of experience with hybrid systems, battery management, electric motors. They're leveraging all that existing R&D and intellectual property. It forces Polaris and Can-Am, who are primarily internal combustion focused right now, to potentially accelerate their own EV and hybrid plans just to stay competitive on factors like noise, efficiency, and maybe even that low-end torque control.
Okay, I still have to circle back to the name though. Scion. It failed before. Why risk associating this high-tech, rugged machine with a brand that, for many, signifies discontinued economy cars? Wouldn't Tacoma SXS or something new entirely have more credibility?
It's a valid question, but think about the branding strategy again. The power sports world values authenticity, specialization. It's separate from the everyday car market. Calling it a Tacoma SXS might instantly create expectations or confusion about things like street legality, crash safety standards for road use, things this vehicle likely isn't designed for.
So using Scion keeps it clearly defined as an off-road recreational product.
Exactly. It creates a distinct identity. It allows Toyota to market a pure, focused off-road machine, maybe take more risks with design or features, without potentially impacting the sensible and reliable reputation of the main Toyota brand if something goes wrong or if it doesn't sell well. Scion becomes their dedicated space to experiment in power sports.
It's a sort of high-performance, high-risk playground.
Kind of, yeah. Using a name that's already dormant means they have less to lose from a corporate brand perspective.
Okay, so wrapping this all up then. For someone listening, maybe not an SXS owner, why is this whole story relevant? What's the key takeaway?
The key takeaway is that this is way bigger than just one new off-road toy. It signals a potential shift in how major automakers view these non-traditional vehicle markets. Power sports, recreation, utility vehicles. They're not just sidelines anymore.
They're seeing them as places to deploy their core technologies.
Exactly. Especially advanced tech like hybrids. They can leverage systems developed for cars and trucks, systems that help with emissions and noise in cities, and apply them in new ways in new markets. It shows high tech is bleeding out from just passenger cars into almost every type of mobility.
And Toyota's entry proves that these big players can move into specialized markets and potentially disrupt them significantly with superior resources and technology.
Right. The Scion 1 is like a shot across the bow. It says, automotive giants can bring automotive-grade durability, complex hybrid systems, and global scale to markets previously dominated by more specialized players. That changes the game. Hashtag tag outro.
All right, that brings us to the end of our deep dive on the very unexpected return of the Scion name. So, quick recap. Toyota's jumping into the SXS market with the Scion 1. It's a high-performance machine packing a 300-horsepower hybrid powertrain based on truck technology, specifically the Tacoma's iForce Max.
Key features include that electric-only silent mode, offering stealth and potentially helping with noise issues on trails, and a factory-installed FIA-compliant roll cage, hinting strongly at future racing ambitions, maybe even Dakar.
It's positioned as durable, capable, surprisingly quiet when needed, and it carries the engineering might of Toyota behind it.
Definitely a vehicle to watch.
So here's the final thought we want to leave you with today, digging into those broader implications, particularly around silent mode. If hybrid or even fully electric SXSs become more common, like the Scion 1 suggests they might, how could that fundamentally change the whole dynamic between off-road recreation and access to public lands.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? On one hand, if the industry addresses the noise problem with tech like this, does that potentially open up access? Could we see trails reopen that were previously closed due to noise complaints?
Or does it go the other way?
Or does the existence of quiet technology give land managers and regulators the justification to impose even stricter noise limits, or even outright bans on older, louder internal combustion machines, saying essentially, the quiet tech exists, so there's no excuse for noise anymore?
So the tech doesn't just change the machines, it could rewrite the rules of access.
Precisely. It creates a whole new policy debate that will inevitably follow these quieter machines out onto the trails. That's the bigger battle brewing behind the hardware.
Definitely something to think about next time you're out enjoying the outdoors, whether you hear an SXS or maybe you don't. Okay, that's all for this deep dive. Until next time, keep digging into the sources.
We'll talk to you soon.